Hi guys, and welcome to the next instalment of the Hero Rune Guide. In this episode we'll be taking a look at Kai McCarnney, a hero that I've recently developed quite a fondness for. So before we get on to the runes themselves, let's have a look at some of Kai's abilities. So he's a great character, he offers some pretty good stuff up to fellow team members and also bonuses to himself. So first one, we've got allies gaining a 25% resistance against elemental status effects. So that's stuff like freeze and shock, poison. Really useful if you're trying to avoid Igorok trying to freeze all of your team during PvP. This one, immune to silence, so makes him nicely protected from the likes of Indigo. Again, useful for PvP, where I think Kai is probably the most strongest. Mystical, just like every caster gets. Fast, so he attacks first. And then lastly, one to be aware of, his vulnerability to melee attacks. He will take extra damage from those. His abilities, so he is most famous for Surf's Up, as you all are probably aware. Reduction of 70% damage at this level for AoE attacks cast upon you and your team. Very useful. Next one, of Call of the Deep. Once you cast that on your team, any opponent that attacks any one of those team members then get a retaliation from that team member. So extremely good in certain circumstances. And then last of all, Backsplash. If a enemy caster does an area of effect ability on any of your guys, it means that it's then reflected back on his own team. So that can either be an attack or even something like a heal ability. When you find Kai in PvP, he's often paired up with Furnace. They make a good combination, and in the earlier days, before runes, it used to be quite problematic. You'd often find Kai and Furnace. Maybe someone like Yoko thrown in there and then some other kind of damage dealer, and it used to be quite problematic. The matches used to take quite some time, but in these days of runes, not so much, but still a great team to actually employ. But everyone always runes up Kai to be defensively, and his value as an area of attack attacker is grossly underestimated. So what we're going to do in this build is turn that notion upside down and use Surf's Up as a deadly weapon, and we're going to call this the Tsunami build. Before I show you the runes though, first off, credit goes to my man Alrek in a level capped, the same guy who bought you the KSD team with Kobold destroying entire swaths of boss islands. The inspiration behind this one, when he formulated all of this, was that he wanted to actually one-shot Ember when he was on the defense. So when people were attacking him with Ember and using the Kozar team to annihilate his defense, he wanted to get rid of Ember straight away. Turns out that this build actually one-shots all sorts of different heroes and really does a lot of damage to them, which I'll show some footage of that after this. So the build is excellent for PvP. It's also usable for PvE, but what I want to do is focus on PvP here. The attack and defense strategies you can use for either, whether you're going to go on a raid or whether you're using him as part of a team to defend your dungeon. And even with the runes focused on attack, he's still really tanky. He can still take so much punishment. The point of doing all this is that it catches your opponent off guard. When they send in an attack team into a defense that's using Kai, they don't have a clue what's about to hit them, and I'd love to see some of the faces of the people that have attacked me in the last week or so. As you'll see from the footage, they just must be thinking, what just happened there? But we'll get onto the details of that shortly. I'll show you some great footage of what went off. Looking at some stats then, first with the attack, you want it to be a minimum of 3,000 if you can. You can get that a lot higher. My runes that I've got on Kai aren't exactly the greatest that I've got, so you can get that much higher and do all sorts of crazy damage. With his critical, you want to get that as high as possible. You want to maximise on the damage that he can do with Surf's Up. For his defense and max health though, leave them as stock. You don't need to do anything with those at all. As I mentioned a moment ago, even with those left as the hero comes, he still really is very much a complete tank. So the Tsunami build runes then are pretty much what we have here. This is what I recommend. So for the 2 blue slots, you want to get a precision rune in there, critical, attack, and hopefully something like damage or critical again. And then the same for the other one. Mine here are suboptimal. They're not the best with the dodge. I could roll better there and get something much more suitable for what I want. For the red, we want a power or a battle rune with 2 attack and a crit or a damage. The yellow is pretty much the same as the blue. We want a crit with attack and damage on there again if possible. And for the purple, same as the red one. So we want a power or a battle rune, and we want 2 attack stats and either a crit or a damage. If you're finding that your Kai is a bit low on defense and he's getting too much damage or maybe even being killed in the PvP or PvE fights, what you want to do is swap out one of those blues or yellows for a bulwark. Get some defense on there. You don't want to load up any more health really. He's got plenty of that it is, so pile on the defense and you should be okay. Alternatively, what I would prefer to do to keep his attack high, I would just bring Astrid along. She gives a bonus defense buff to all casters. So rather than sacrifice any of his attack power, bring her along, bolster up that defense. Some PvP footage now then. So for you high level guys who've got Ember, use her first here just like in the video. She gives a massive attack boost there to Kai, and you can see the devastating effects it has. Also bring along Dagrund. He gives an extra attack bonus to all casters, and you can see the effect that that has. Some serious damage being handed out here. For those of you who need a bit of extra defense, as I mentioned before, bring along Astrid. She can really bolster the casters in your group, keep them alive. If you're going to bring along someone like Cobalt, who's one of my favourites to bring. Cobalt's a good strategy. If he gets killed by the opposition, they'll get diseased and it reduces their attack even more. So that, on top of Kai's Surfs Up, you can't really go wrong. For PvE, I pretty much keep things as they are. Swap around a blue or a yellow as I discussed earlier to get more defense if you need it, or bring Astrid along, just as with PvP. It's been difficult for me to actually do any experimentation because of the limiting factor, which is the gold. Boss fight guys, if you're listening, feel free to send me some freebie gold. I'm happy to do more experimentation with runes then. And you'll see from some of this footage up here, this team that I keep using for defense, it's pretty solid. I'm going to be doing another video on this at some point soon, so I will explain the reasons for these choices and the synergies there a lot more. You'll remember from the end of the last episode that I gave out a fairly useful rune tip, and I want to do the same again here. This time it's about rune re-rolling. After the second re-roll, the chances that your rune will be improved start to drop off significantly, so if you're low on gems, use caution when doing lots of re-rolls, because you'll find that you easily get suckered into re-rolling all of your tries, only to find at the end that your rune never improved or only improved marginally, and you've spent a ton of gems. That's all from me for now guys. I'm hoping that you found that useful. If you have, then do some subscribing and liking and sharing, all that sort of wholesome stuff. Keep your eyes out for more videos from me, and until then, keep it real.